This is the story of Daniel, a boy born in a forgotten village where dust filled the air and silence spoke louder than opportunity, where cracked earth stretched endlessly under a burning sun, and poverty was the only inheritance passed down from father to son. His family lived in a fragile clay house with a rusted tin roof that leaked during every storm, its floor bare dirt, its walls too thin to block the winter winds. His father was a farmer who bent his back day after day into dry soil that yielded little more than disappointment, while his mother spent hours weaving baskets and selling them in the market for a handful of coins that barely bought bread. Daniel grew up surrounded by struggle, taught early that life was hard, that dreams were luxuries, and that hunger was more reliable than hope. Yet deep inside him burned a spark that poverty could not smother. From the moment he laid eyes on an old broken computer in his village school, a relic with flickering screens and missing keys, his heart caught fire with a vision. That machine, useless to most, was a miracle to him. He wanted to know how it worked, how it spoke in codes and wires, how it carried worlds inside a glowing box. He wanted to learn, to invent, to build, to use knowledge as his weapon against despair. But in a place where even survival felt like a dream, how could a boy like him dare to imagine becoming an engineer? His classmates mocked him, sneering, "You'll end up just like your father, stuck in the fields." His neighbors shook their heads and laughed, saying, "Technology is for rich kids in cities, not for boys with empty hands." Even relatives advised him to stop wasting time, to learn a trade, to settle for less. But Daniel refused to swallow their limits. He believed something they did not, that even a seed planted in dry soil can grow if it clings to the sun. Every morning, barefoot, with cracked heels and empty stomach, he walked miles to school, carrying a notebook half full of scribbles and dreams. The classroom was falling apart, desks broken, books torn, chalkboards faint. But Daniel's eyes never wavered, his ears never closed, his mind never stopped absorbing. While others laughed, he listened. While others gave up, he wrote. After school, when other children played or helped in the market. Daniel slipped into the tiny library, a dusty room filled with forgotten books. There he discovered heroes of science, stories of inventors who rose from nothing, pages filled with possibilities beyond his village horizon. At night, under the dim, flickering light of a kerosene lamp, he sketched machines on scraps of paper, drew circuits on cardboard, imagined himself building what the world said he could not. His parents worried. His mother begged, "Be practical, Daniel. Dreams won't put food on the table." His father sighed, saying, "Dreams are beautiful, but they don't fill empty stomachs." Daniel nodded with respect, but inside he whispered, "One day, my dream will feed us all." Time pushed forward, and his reality grew heavier. When he finished school, college seemed impossible. Tuition required money they didn't have, and poverty, like a cage, closed tighter around him. Many of his friends abandoned school altogether, some becoming shopkeepers, others farmers, most giving up on futures they once dared to imagine. Daniel felt the pull of despair, but he clenched his fists and refused. He worked as a laborer by day, carrying bricks until his shoulders ached, digging ditches under the merciless sun, sweating out every drop of strength. At night, when exhaustion threatened to break him, he studied by candlelight, teaching himself from borrowed textbooks, solving math problems in torn notebooks, writing code on paper because he had no computer. His determination was his fuel, and though his body was tired, his spirit was unbroken. He failed again and again, His machines collapsed, his calculations went wrong, his programs didn't work. But each failure became a stepping stone. He told himself, failure is not the end. It is the teacher showing me where not to step. Slowly, painfully, he improved. Slowly, his knowledge sharpened. And then one day, he entered a village science fair with a solar-powered water pump built from scrap metal and discarded parts. People laughed when they saw it, mocking the crooked wires, the patched-up pipes. But when he turned it on and water gushed from the pipe, where there had been only dryness, the laughter turned into awe. That moment changed his life. A local journalist wrote about the boy with the sun in his hands, and the article spread. Soon, a scholarship came. Small, but enough. Daniel packed his few belongings and left for the city, trembling with fear, but carrying a heart filled with courage. The city was a new world. Tall buildings, endless traffic, lights that never dimmed. He felt small, lost, invisible. But he reminded himself, I belong here too. At university, he was surrounded by students with laptops, fluent English, expensive tools. He had none of that they whispered about him. Some mocked his accent, others ignored him. But Daniel refused shame. He studied harder than anyone else, spending nights in the library, mornings in classrooms, afternoons at internet cafes where he spent his food money just to watch online lectures. Hunger gnawed at him, but knowledge fed his soul. Slowly, professors noticed. Slowly, his projects stood out. He built low-cost stoves for poor families, water purifiers from recycled parts, solar lamps that lit up dark homes. His inventions won competitions. His name began to spread beyond campus. But success was never smooth. Companies rejected him. Investors ignored him. Applications went unanswered. Rejections piled higher than his hopes. Nights came when he wanted to quit, when he lay awake staring at the ceiling of his rented room, wondering if everyone else had been right, if his dream really was foolish. But every time he wanted to surrender, he remembered the cracked fields of his village, the hunger in his siblings' eyes, the whisper he once told himself under a kerosene lamp. One day, my dream will feed us all. And so he rose again. After countless failures, one company finally gave him an internship. He poured his heart into it, working longer, thinking deeper, refusing to waste the chance. His persistence shone, and people began to notice. Years passed, and Daniel's inventions grew larger, stronger, more impactful. His machines began bringing clean water to dry villages, cheap energy to poor homes, dignity to forgotten people. And then came the day he stood on a global stage, holding an award for innovation, his name spoken with respect around the world. Cameras flashed, the audience cheered, but in his mind he saw only the barefoot boy in the dusty village, hunched over a torn notebook, whispering promises to the dark. His journey had proved to the world what he always knew. Greatness is not gifted to the privileged. It is carved by the relentless. His story showed that poverty is not a curse, but a classroom, that failure is not an ending, but a beginning, and that doubt is not a wall, but a challenge to climb. Daniel's life became more than invention. It became a message. He reminded us all that your beginnings do not define your endings, that every rejection is fuel if you let it be, and that no dream is too big for the heart that refuses to quit. He showed us that even the smallest spark in the darkest place can grow into a fire that lights the world. And so, every time a young dreamer reads about him, every time a struggling student whispers his name, every time a village child switches on a solar lamp he built, Daniel's story continues. carrying the same message he lived by. No matter how heavy the struggle, no matter how deep the hunger, no matter how endless the night, the morning will come, and when it does, it will shine brighter because you refused to give up.